Everybody, welcome to a Thursday night edition of the Glen Kuiper Show. We appreciate you stopping by a little later this evening, but really what I wanted to do is I wanted to let everybody watch the Thursday night NFL game, which a lot of people like to do. So I wanted everybody to get a chance to watch that. Come on right after that. And what we have is a full show, and I'm looking forward to it. We're going to cover a whole bunch of stuff. Again, thanks for joining me. I like when you join in with comments and questions and suggestions. You know that, and I do my best to read them all. Hit the subscribe button, as we like to get as many subscribers as possible. You guys have been great. We're closing in on 6,000 subscribers, which is very exciting. And also hit the like button if you're hearing something that you agree with, or you know what, maybe you don't agree with, but you like the talking point. But so this is what we're going to talk about tonight on the show. I like to tease everything so you know what we're going to get into. I'll talk a little bit about the final weekend coming up for the Giants at Oracle Park against the Rockies. Of course, no playoffs this year. Again, that's very disappointing, but we'll touch on a couple things that maybe look forward to coming up over the weekend. As always, get you updated on the pennant races. Another busy day, a lot of day games today. Is there clarification? Yeah, a little bit in the National League. We're starting to get a pretty good picture in the National League. American League, believe it or not, is still kind of up in the air. So we'll check on all that. Find out if you guys like the playoff format. Now, third wild card. It's the fourth year that we've had a third wild card. A couple of teams get buys in each league, and I'm just curious, and I want to get your thoughts on that. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. The playoff format with three wild card teams and a couple of buys. I tend to like it, but I'm curious to see what you guys think about it. We're going to talk about the ABS challenge system, which is coming to Major League Baseball next year. That is a big, big deal, and we'll run through that a little bit. Perfect thing for you to get your thoughts out there on that as well. And then I promised NFL segment, and we got one. We got to get you ready for NFL Week 4. I picked out some games that I thought were interesting, including, obviously, the Niners game against Jacksonville. So that is what we are going to cover on what is a very full show tonight on a Thursday night. All right, let's get to our sponsors. As always, since 1978, the Carrig Real Estate team has been helping families buy and sell homes across the Bay Area with a legacy of client first service. Whether you're moving up, downsizing, or making that first home purchase, trust the Carrig Real Estate team to guide you home. Give Mike Carrig a call today for a free home sale or purchase consultation. You can call Mike at 925-548-4132. That's the CarrigTeam.com. And we're also brought to you by Tilden Properties. As an investor, one of the best places to put your money is California's multi-family real estate. By investing with Tilden Properties, you'll see quarterly dividends and equity buildup in the real estate market. Bay Area-based family-owned Tilden Properties. I'm telling you, folks, they've been building investment wealth for their clients since 2008. Big, big time. You want to invest with these people, give them a call, 925-209-8558, and that is Tilden Properties. And we're also brought to you by our newest sponsor, Valone Insurance. Valone Insurance, are you tired of being overcharged for property insurance? Valone Insurance has multiple options for your home and landlord properties. Save big money on your property insurance. Call Kyle or Ron at Valone Insurance, 925-433-8271. So appreciate our sponsors as always. And let's get started with a very, very busy show on this Thursday night, starting with what is the final weekend of baseball for the Giants at Oracle Park this year. They'll come in with a 78-81 record. Very disappointing. Obviously, they'll try to get to 500. They'll have to sweep the Rockies. A roller coaster final 3.5 months for the fans. Winning streaks, losing streaks, winning streaks, losing streaks, and that has just been the way it is. Very strange. It seems like they just could not figure out if they wanted to be good or if they were going to play terrible. And when it's all said and done, 3 games left, and they're just fighting to get to 500. So, some good moments. They got close in August, which was exciting, but they just could not get over the hump. So anyway, what's some things to look forward to this weekend outside of just being at the beautiful ballpark one last time for this 2025 season? Well, Tomorrow night, of course, it's actually, this is a big deal inside the Giants organization. The Willie Mack Award winner will be announced. The Willie Mack Award, very prestigious within the Giants organization. Players take it serious. The front office takes it serious. It's described as the annual honor given to a Giants player who best exemplifies Willie McCovey's spirit, leadership, and competitive drive. It's the Willie Mack Award, established way back in 1980. Jack Clark was the first Willie Mack Award winner. It's important because it's voted on by players, coaches, and training staff. So there's not writers or fans of this is a people who are in the clubhouse, people who are together every day. So that's a big deal. Mike Krukow won it a couple times. Kruk, our best buddy, he won it in 85 and 86. Benji Molina won it a couple times. JT Snow won it a couple times. Buster won it in 2012. More recently, Wilmer Flores won it in 2022. Last year was Matt Chapman. So Willie Mack Award ceremony before the game tomorrow. They usually generally keep a pretty darn good secret as to who won it. Some good candidates this year. Willie Adames is probably the favorite, but anyways, we'll find out who wins that tomorrow night. So get there early, get a good seat, enjoy the last Friday night, and enjoy the Willie Mack Award ceremony. So then on Sunday, this is going to be fun. Logan Webb is going to pitch on Sunday, and this is pretty cool. We're big Logan Webb fans. Everybody should be. He's the Giants ace. He's here for a long time. Came up through the organization. He's a leader, man, and Giants should be thrilled to have him, and they are. He leads the National League right now in innings pitched and strikeouts going into this weekend. Okay. In fact, he's the only pitcher in the National League that's over 200 innings. But listen to this. So innings pitched wise, he's ahead of Christopher Sanchez from the Phillies by 5 1/3 innings. Okay. Sanchez is supposed to pitch on Sunday. But remember, the Phillies are getting ready for the postseason. They're going to have a first-round bye, but they're going to want to get everybody rested. And I don't know how many innings Sanchez is going to pitch. And as I said, Webb already going into that Sunday has 5 more innings pitched than Sanchez. So Logan Webb is going to, unless something happens, he doesn't pitch or gets injured. But again, he's got a 5 innings lead over Sanchez. So he's in a very good spot to lead the league in innings pitched. And here's the fun part. He is tied with 216 strikeouts in the National League. He's tied with Jesus Luzardo and Paul Skeens. They all three have 216 strikeouts. But here's the difference. Luzardo pitched on Wednesday. He's not going to pitch again in the regular season. Paul Skeens pitched on Wednesday, and he's not going to pitch again. Dylan Cease from the Padres, who has 1 fewer strikeouts than Webb, he also pitched on Wednesday. Those guys aren't going to pitch again. So all Logan Webb needs to do is get 1 strikeout on Sunday, and he will win the strikeout crown, if that's whatever you want to call it. And he's got the 5-inning lead. So he has a very, very good chance of finishing the season, leading the National League in innings pitched and strikeouts. That is a huge accomplishment. No San Francisco Giant pitcher has ever done that. Never. The last Giant pitcher to do it was a New York Giant pitcher. His name was Bill Foiselli, and I hope I'm saying his last name correct. If I'm not, I apologize. But this was way back in 1944. So think about that. That's a pretty impressive accomplishment. And Logan Webb has a terrific chance to do that. So if you're at the game, keep that in mind on Sunday. And let's hope Logan Webb finishes that off, because that is something to truly be proud of. A couple other things. Willie Adames, can he get to that 30 home run mark? No Giants hitter has hit 30 home runs in a season since Barry Bonds hit 45 in 2004. Adames is 2 away, so he's sitting on 28. So he'd like to get there. I mean, it's a nice mark for him individually. And like I said, it's been quite a while since the Giants have had a 30 home run guy. And really, for the first couple months, I don't think any of us thought Adames would get there. I mean, he had 12 home runs at the All-Star break, but he got off to a very slow start. He didn't look right. He was pushing, pressing a little bit, but then he settled in. He's had a nice second half. He hit, I got 7 home runs in July, 9 in August, 3 so far in September. But he's gone 14 games without a home run. So I don't know if he's thinking about it. He could be a little bit. But let's see if Willy Adames can get a couple of home runs this week and get to 30. And he is, if Willie plays in all 3 games, he'll finish with 160 games played this year, 161 last year. So, the guy answers the bell. You got to give him credit for that. He plays hard, and he answers the bell every day. So, and I would imagine he'll play in all 3 games. He's going to want to do that. Another interesting note: Rafael Devers, remember he came over in the trade middle of June. He actually, if he plays in all 3 games this weekend, he will actually finish the season playing in 163 games, one more than everybody plays, because he played 73 with Boston. And right now, 87 with the Giants. So if he plays 3 more, he will get to 163 games played. That's pretty cool. The guy likes to play. And if you look at his career, his 6-7 years in the big leagues, for the most part, he's gone out there and played 140, 145, 150 games. And you know what? That's what you want. He's got 34 home runs now to Devers. That's the second highest total of his career in a season. He had 38 back in 2021. So 34 home runs for Devers, 19 coming with the Giants. And he's going to want to go out there and play all 3 games this weekend as well. I mean, these guys want to play. I mean, what are you going to play the whole year and then sit out the last couple of games? That's not going to happen. So anyways, those are just a couple things to watch for coming up this weekend at the ballpark. You wish that it was a pennant race and these games meant something. They don't. And there's no reason why we still can't go out there and enjoy it. I'm going to be out there Friday night or tomorrow night and have a good time. Why not? It's a great place to be. So that's what's coming up this weekend. So let's get to the pennant race. I've been trying to do a good job for you folks and keep an eye and updated on everything. I hope I'm not confusing you because there's a lot going on. But anyways, in that National League West the National League wild card race, I apologize. The Reds won today, 2-1 over Pittsburgh. The Mets won today, 8-5 over the Cubs. The Diamondbacks lost 8-0 to the Dodgers. So where it stands right now, the Mets now have that 3rd wild card spot. The Reds are 1 back. The Diamondbacks are 2 back. Diamondbacks in trouble. So the Reds 1 back, but the Reds have the tiebreaker. So if the Reds can pick up 1 game this weekend and they finish tied with the Mets, the Reds would get the 3rd wild card spot. So the Reds this weekend are at Milwaukee, okay? The Mets are at Miami, and the Diamondbacks are at San Diego. So Arizona's they're probably out of time here. So, but it's going to be either the Reds or the Mets, it looks like, for that 3rd National League wildcard spot. We've been watching that very close because the Giants were in on that. American League East has turned out to be awesome. Yankees and the Jays came into today tied. Both won. The Blue Jays got a much-needed win. They defeated the Red Sox 6-1. The Yankees beat the White Sox 5-3. So they are tied. Both teams 91 and 68. But Toronto has the tiebreaker. Again, that's huge. That's huge. Because if you think about this, both these teams are in, okay, or close to being in. Actually, I think they're both in, are they? I take that back. Yeah, the Yankees and the Blue Jays are both in. They're both in. But the difference is whoever wins the division has a chance to be the number 1 seed, okay? Whoever finishes in the wild card spot, well, then they drop down to the number 4 seed. So you're either 1 or 2, or you're going to drop down to 4. So, there's a significant difference there. So anyways, they're tied. Yankees, Jays going to the final weekend. They're both in the postseason. One's going to win the division. The other one's going to be a wild card team, the 3rd wild card, the 1st wild card team, the 4th seed. Anyways, so Toronto will stay home and play the Rays, and the Yankees will stay home and play Baltimore. So that's what's going on in a very fun American League East race. Okay. Now, in the American League Central, which we've talked a lot about because of the Tigers collapsing, the Guardians going crazy on a total heater. And so coming into today, the Guardians were up one game in the division, but the Tigers beat the Guardians today. Man, did the Tigers need to win that game? I mean, you want to talk about not a must-win game, but pretty darn close for Detroit. They beat the Guardians in Cleveland by a final score of 4-2. So they are tied. Detroit, Cleveland, 86 and 73, tied for the top spot in the AL Central. The Guardians have the tiebreaker, which is huge. So keep that in mind. Detroit, let's see. Detroit is at Boston this weekend. That's an interesting series because the Red Sox are super close to getting in, but they're not in yet. Detroit at Fenway this weekend. I'm going to keep a close eye on that one just because I'm a fan. The Guardians will stay home and play the Texas Rangers. So that's what's going on there. So how about that? The AL East is tied going into the final weekend, and the AL Central is tied going into the final weekend. And then the AL wild card, Tigers in that, and the Astros won today, but the Astros are now a game behind Detroit and Cleveland. So the Astros have their backs against the wall because they do not have a tiebreaker against either team. So the Astros are the team that's in trouble in this thing. They're going to probably need a sweep. They will be in Anaheim this weekend. But so now it's not there yet, but there's a pretty good chance that both Cleveland and Detroit will get in. One's going to be the division winner, and the other one would be the last wild card. So you got the two divisions that are tied. You got the wild card, one game separating there. So it's good stuff. I mean, it's really good stuff. And again, enjoy it. The pennant race in baseball is really like nothing else. And, with the extra wild card, that certainly has made things interesting as well. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be good baseball this weekend. And I think maybe the biggest series of all of these that has maybe the most ramifications for playoff seeding and, where everything is at is probably that Detroit at Boston 3-game series, which is going to be very much worth keeping an eye on. So that's the pennant race, updated what happened today, and where everybody's at. So that gets us to my next segment, which is kind of wanted to look at where everybody's at here, and then see if you guys like the playoff format. But before I do that, I want to check in. I got a nice number of comments coming in. See what everybody has to say. All right, let's see. All right, Kyle says this team needs 4 arms and probably another shake-up with a bat. The talent is there. 2025 has been frustrating, onward and upward. Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, there's been some good spots. There's cornerstone players that are pretty good players that are going to be here. You got a young guy in Eldridge that may be ready to make a move. But yeah, I think the pitching thing, they need 1 starter, maybe 2, and a whole bunch of bullpen arms. So we shall see. Cole likes to check in, and we appreciate that, Cole. I know it's a bit early to think about, but what are some things the Giants can learn from some of these succeeding teams, even some of these scrappy teams like the Reds and the others? I think that's a great question. I think you can see that there's teams out there like the Diamondbacks, like the Guardians, like the Reds who play with some team speed. They're not afraid to bunt. They're not afraid to go first and third. They're aggressive on the base paths. But you have to have the personnel to do that. I'm not sure the Giants have the personnel to do that right now, but I think they would like to get a little more athletic, especially in the outfield. But just in general, where they can do some of these things. Maybe at times play a little small ball. Don't be afraid to bunt. I love watching the Diamondbacks play. I love watching the Guardians play because they run the bases great. They're aggressive on the bases. They have some speed, and they're fearless. And I also think, outfield defense. When you see a really really good team that has great outfield defense, it to me it jumps off the screen. And I think those are a couple areas where the Giants need to get better at. And I think if they could get better in those areas, to do that, you're going to have to get that kind of personnel. So there may be a couple spots where they have to make changes with the players they have. We'll find that out, but it'll be fun to talk about. Let's see. Gary says, should the lower seed team get one game at home in the wild card round instead of having to play two, or if it goes three on the road? Yeah, you're talking about the wild card series, which is the third seed hosts the sixth seed, the fourth seed hosts the fifth seed. And we're going to get to that right now. So it's a good lead-in question, Gary. And I would say probably not. I think I don't know that time-wise, day-wise, that they being Major League Baseball can afford to like put a travel day in between that 3-game series. I think that's one of the reasons why you just play a 3-game series. And I know the fourth wild card and the fifth wild card, they're generally pretty close and two pretty good teams. And you're going to see that. Actually, it's funny that you bring that up, Gary, because I just read where the National League 4 versus 5 series wildcards is locked in. And when I say 4, I mean 4 seed and 5th seed. The Padres and the Cubs are locked in, and they're going to play their 3-game wild card series at Wrigley Field. So the Padres have this great year, right? Chasing the Dodgers. But the Padres are going to have to go on the road and win at Wrigley a 3-game series. So good question. But I'm okay with this. And I'm glad you kind of brought this up. Because it gets me to, this playoff format, okay? Where this is the 4th year where there's been a third wild card team. Okay, started in 2022, and I will say I like the way it's set up. It's never perfect. It would help if you had 32 teams. I think that would help some because 32 is like the magic number, right? 16, 4, 4, 4, 4, and it helps setting up your playoff format and how you want to do it as well. But that's not the case. Major League Baseball has 30 teams. So now you have, the 2 division winners with the best records get a bye. And then the 3rd division winner with the worst record of the 3 hosts the last wild card team, which I'm calling the 6th seed, and then 4 and 5, like we talked about, with 4 being the number 1 wild card team, 5 being the number 2 wild card team, and the 6th seed being the number 3 wild card team. Right now, I can tell you this. The Brewers and the Phillies have clinched a bye. We're not sure who's going to be. The Brewers are close to being the number 1 seed, but they get a bye. The Phillies get a bye. They both get a bye. So they will have 5 days off. They'll play Sunday, obviously, and then that division series doesn't start till next Saturday. So they'll have Monday through Friday off, those 2 teams in the National League, Brewers, Phillies. Dodgers are locked in to the 3rd seed. They're the National League West winner. They won the division, but the Phillies and the Brewers have a better record than them. So they're locked in. Cubs are the number 1 wild card. That's huge because they get to host that wild card series against the Padres. And then it's either the Mets or the Reds. Arizona's probably out of it. So probably Mets or Reds will go to Dodger Stadium. Okay, and those are all best of 3 series. You guys all know this. And then in the American League, it's going to be whoever wins the East, Yankees or Blue Jays, they're going to get a bye, and the Mariners have a bye. And then the 3rd seed will be whoever wins the Central, whether it's the Tigers or the Guardians. So we don't know that yet. The Red Sox, they're kind of locked into the 5th spot, but not quite. They could drop down to 6 because the Tigers, who are in that 6th spot, play the Red Sox this weekend. Does that make sense? This is crazy, but it's super fun. See, I love this stuff. So anyway, so now let's get back to the format. So you got 12 teams that make it, 12 out of 30. That's 40%. I know there's some people out there who say, well, that's too many teams. There should be fewer. There was fewer in the past. Maybe, but I'm okay with 12. I hope that when they expand to 32 teams, which will happen at some point in the next, 5-6 years or whatever, I hope they stay at 12 out of 32. Right now it's 12 out of 30. The only thing that I think I would want different, but there would be ramifications for that, is to this wild card series that we're talking about, first round series, is only a 3-game series. I would like to see that be a 5-game series. And then the division series, which is the second round, right now it's 5 games. I'd like to see that be a 7-game series. So my preference would be wild card series, 5 games, division series 7, championship series 7, World Series 7. And I think a lot of people like that idea. But here's the problem with that. If you added 2 more games to the first series, the wild card series, and then 2 more games to the division series, that's potentially 4 more games in each series. Now, I know they may not go the distance, but the point is they have to be scheduled. So you'd have to not only have extra days for those series, but you'd have to have an off day in there, a travel day in there. So you're really adding potentially 4 extra games with 2 added games for each series and 2 travel days. So now you're talking about an extra week. That's not going to happen. There's no place. Right now, the playoffs are about maxed out. They end at the end of October. Sometimes even leak a little bit into November. But now the season is starting earlier every year as well. I mean, next year, I think the Giants have the first game, and it's like the 26th or something of March. It used to be April 3rd, 4th, 5th. So it's about stretched at both ends as far as you can go. So my point is, I think the only way you could add these extra games to these series is make each team play 3 or 4 doubleheaders a year. But teams don't want to do that because then you're taking away home games and you're taking away gate and a lot of revenue for each home game. I mean, it's significant. They don't want to do that. So the next thing is, well, how do you get an extra week for this to add to the postseason? Well, I think what you'd have to do is you'd probably have to shorten the season to 154 or 156. And there's a lot of talk about that. I think that's going to be a subject matter that we're going to hear a lot about in the next couple of years because of the CBA that's coming up, and that's going to be ugly. But I think a shorter season, like by a week, is something that is going to be heavily discussed. And if you did that, then you could make those series longer. Where all the series are 7 games except for the wild card series, which would be 5. But you know what? I'd be okay. I'd be okay with a 156 game schedule or 154 if you made those playoff series a little bit longer. I'd be good with that. I think it would be good for baseball to shorten the season by a week. I do. I know there's records that come into play, and I get all that. But there was a time where it was 154 games, and then it went to 162. We survived that. We made it through, and everything's okay. So, it wouldn't surprise me. It would not surprise me if that's something that happens down the road. We'll see. But it's an interesting thought. But I'm okay with the format. Let's see what you guys think. Hold on. I did it again. I'm not real great with my computer, as you can see. All right. Just want to see if anybody's thinking the way I'm thinking. Oh, this is interesting. Eddie says also TV rights are going to be an issue with adding a week to the postseason. Yeah, but I think that would be a good thing though, because if you add another 4 games to the postseason, that's more money for the teams because somebody's got to televise those extra 4 games, and somebody's going to jump on it, and somebody's going to pay out a whole bunch of money because the national outlets that are grabbing up baseball, they grab baseball for the postseason. So you add some postseason games, that's going to increase revenue by a lot. But the TV rights always comes into play, and I think that's I think that's fair. I think that's it's part of something that I don't completely understand, and I know fans probably don't really care, but yeah, the TV rights thing is, I mean, I understand it, but when it gets to that national level where it's Fox and now you have, the streaming services, then it does at times get a little complicated. But anyways, all right, let's move on to our next subject, which again, this is interesting. This got voted in this week. It's the ABS challenge system. It will be in play next year in Major League Baseball. ABS challenge system. Now it's called Automated Strike Zone Challenge System or ABS challenge system, whatever you want to call it. Automated balls and strikes, but we know what we're talking about. So it was voted on by what's called the MLB Competition Committee. Okay, it's put together by MLB, 6 owners, 4 players, and 1 umpire. So 11. And I actually chuckled at that because if you think about it, it's the Major League Baseball Competition Committee. So if Major League Baseball wants something, it's got to be voted on. So you put together a committee and you got to have a majority, right? So there's 6 owners. So if Major League Baseball wants something, trust me, the owners will vote yes. If Rob Manfred says we need this, the owners are going to vote yes. That's a guarantee. So you got 6 owners, 4 players, 1 umpire. This was going to pass. This was going to pass. It didn't even need to go to vote, but it did, and it passed. 6 owners out of 11, and it passed. So here's the deal. I'm sure most of you have a pretty good idea what this is about, but the umps are going to call every pitch. That's not going to change. Thank goodness. But each team can appeal or challenge, however, whatever word you want to use, 2 ball strike calls per game. You keep your challenge if your challenge is successful, right? Fair. You get 2 challenges per game. Ball strike. You don't think it's a ball, or you don't think it's a strike, whatever, you can challenge it. Now here's where it gets interesting. There's only 3 positions or 3 people that can ask for the challenge: pitcher, catcher, and hitter. That's it. Nobody else can do it. Dugout can't do it. Manager can't do it. It's got to be one of those 3 guys. And this is the part that, to me, makes it super interesting. Let's say you're a hitter. You think the pitch is called a strike. You think it's a ball. You tap your helmet. Umpire says, okay. But you have to request that challenge right away, immediately. Pitch is called the ball. So you can't step out, look in the dugout. Hey, is it a ball, strike? What do you think? No, you have to ask for it right away. If you don't, then there's no challenge. Again, pitcher can do it, catcher can do it, hitter can do it. That's it. And you got to do it right away. That's interesting to me, okay? And it's the right thing to do. You can't be asking, what do you think? What did the video show you? No, that's ridiculous. That's not going to happen. So this was tested in spring training last year. Not all the ballparks had it, but I believe it was 60% of the games played in spring training last year had the ABS challenge system. So everybody got a feel for it. It's been used some in the minor leagues. But the big leaguers in spring training got a feel for it. So there was data put out, right, and a fair amount of it, right. I mean, I think where you get a little bit of an idea. So this one surprised me. The spring training data results from this, 52% of the challenges were successfully overturned. So just over half. I would have thought that that number was going to be significantly higher, but it's only half. So half the time, a guy asked for a challenge and they lost the challenge. I guess my point is I felt like if you're going to challenge, there's a lot of pitches thrown in a game. If you're going to challenge it, that you must feel pretty good about it, and you're probably right. But that's not the case. 52% were overturned. 48% were like, nope, that challenge, you're wrong with the challenge. You lose a challenge. Does that number seem low to you? I would have thought that the amount of successful challenges was significantly higher than that. But it wasn't. At least spring training games, but there's enough of a sample size to put out this data. And then my second question, and I remember asking this and talked to people in spring training about it. Which position, hitter, catcher, pitcher, which one of those three, the three people that can challenge, who would you think has the best chance to be successful? If I said only one of you can do it, who would you want to do it? And I remember kind of kicking it around, talking to some people about it. And I thought the catcher had the best chance to be the most accurate with his, I think that was a strike. And it turns out the data for that showed that. And and this is interesting. The catcher's challenges had a 56% success rate. So that's obviously, if it's a catcher, it's obviously a pitch that he thought was a strike, but it's called a ball. So 56% of the catcher's challenges were successful. The pitcher's challenge was only successful 41% of the time. How about that? The hitter's challenge was successful 50% of the time. So the catcher, at least the data from spring training, had the best idea if it should be challenged. And the numbers back it up. The pitcher had the worst by a fairly significant margin, and the hitter was right in between. So the hitter, half the time, the hitter said, I want that challenge because you called it a strike and I thought it was a ball. He was only right half the time. To me, half the time is not enough. That's not a good enough percentage. I think you need to be significantly better than that if you're going to do this. Otherwise, you lose a challenge, you lose an opportunity in an important part of the game, bases loaded or something like that. So the catcher shows the best ability to have a successful challenge, according to the spring training numbers. So with that in mind, my next question is, I would say that puts more pressure on the catchers. I mean, they already have, a lot going on back there, but I think this, I think the pressure is on the catcher to make that quick decision. If he feels like it's a strike, he doesn't have time to think much about it. He's got to go, but it shows that they're the best position to do it. And then there's the team strategy. I would guess that, listen, anything that comes up, team strategize. How can we have an edge on the other team? So I think you're going to have teams that are going to have different types of strategy. Maybe you don't challenge. If you're a hitter, you don't challenge unless there's runners on base or, something like that. Or you don't challenge before the fifth inning. I'm interested to see that is what kind of strategy do teams put together, and how do they get to that strategy, which we may not find out. They may not tell us that. But I think it's going to be fascinating next year and I think it's good. I'm for it. I'm totally good with this. I'm not good with robo umpires making every single call. I think that would be a disaster. The umpires in general work hard and do a pretty good job, but there are times when a critical miss on a ball strike, or I mean, listen, it can change the outcome of the game. And I earlier this week, and again, umpires do a good job, right? It's tough. You're not going to get every single call right, but there was an umpire in a game earlier this week. He was behind the plate again, and two playoff teams were playing, and they're battling for playoff positions, and it's an important game. This home plate umpire missed 25 balls and strike call. 25 pitches he missed. That's a huge number. And that's an inordinate number. Most of the time it's not that many, but the point is it does happen. Umpires have a bad 25 missed ball strike calls. That number and that high amount can change the outcome of a game. Now, if some of those can get corrected by this system, then I think it's important to do it. The curiosity is the catcher going to continue to be the best option to do the challenge? And what kind of strategy will teams use? Because I think you got to have some type of strategy. We saw that with the runner at second base, right? In extra innings, different teams do different things. Which one works better? Do you bunt? Do you not bunt? But teams have different ideas about how to go about it. And my last thought on this has to do with Patrick Bailey, because there's been a lot of talk about Bailey as well. With, hey, Bailey's the best framer in the game. He's terrific at it. He's going to win another Gold Glove, and that's a big part of it. Does this take away some of his effectiveness with his framing? And I feel like that's maybe being overhyped a little bit. I don't know that it's going to affect how effective Patrick Bailey is behind the plate. I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference. I really don't. And it's interesting. Patrick Bailey, I was talking to him in spring training, about framing, and why he's so good at it, that kind of thing. But he said something to me that kind of stuck. He said framing is just as much about making sure that pitches that are strikes are getting called strikes, as opposed to making balls look like strikes. Does that make sense? So you think of framing, your initial thought is, well, that pitch was a little off the plate. It was a ball, but he pulled it back. That's your initial thought about framing. And that is part of what framing is. Turning a ball into a strike or making it look like a strike, and you're going to get some of those calls. But Patrick's point was sometimes it's just as important to make sure that a pitch that's right on the corner and it is a strike, keep it looking like a strike. Okay. And, and he made a pretty strong point about that. It's not just turning balls into strikes. It's keeping strikes to make sure those get called. So again, the framing thing is interesting. It's become such an important thing. And I think if you're really good at it like he is, I think you still have a significant advantage. And I don't know that this ABS challenge system is going to take away the importance of a good framer. Maybe a little bit, but I just don't know that it's going to be a lot where it really affects in Bailey's case, his talent behind the plate. I just don't see it. I really don't. So I don't think it's something to worry about. But anyways, it's going to be interesting. I like it. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll run smooth. It ran smooth in spring training. It doesn't take long. It's very quick. And I think they show the pitch up on the screen. You're going to see it. Honestly, it takes 10 seconds. Boom. So it's good. I think it's good, and it'd be something fun to watch for next year. So, anyways, that's my thoughts on that. And lastly, we're going to shift. You know what? I want to check my comments first, and then we'll shift gears to the NFL. We'll have some fun with that. All right, let me check here. Hold on. All right, let's show Kyle's question. Kyle's good. So 52% of the time, Glenn, the challenge wins. What does that say to the overall umpire? Hold on. The overall umpire percentage. How does that compare? It's got to be lower than the StatCast and umpires results. I'm not exactly sure what you're asking, but I just felt like if you're going to challenge the call, you must feel pretty good that you're going to get it right. But you were only right half the time in spring training. So that, I don't know. That's interesting to me. Edie says, let's be real now. His framing ain't that nice either. I'm pretty sure all of us that have seen ball for years can say we've seen better framers and receivers of the ball than Bailey. I would probably not agree with that. I've seen a fair amount of baseball, and he's pretty darn good at it. And when you watch other guys try to frame it, and framing has become a thing, so guys are getting better at it. But he's pretty darn good. He's pretty darn good. So, anyways, let's go to our NFL Week 4 segment. So I picked out some games, 4 games that I liked. I thought would be fun. One of them, of course, the Niners. Kind of go through it. Again, I'm an NFL fan. I'm not some NFL expert. There's a ton of those guys out there. There's a ton of NFL experts. There's a ton of people who think they're NFL experts. I'm neither. I'm just an NFL fan, just like you guys. So that's why I wanted to, because we're into the fall, we're into the season, I wanted to do some NFL stuff on the Glen Kuiper Show as well. So anyways, we just had the first game of Week 4. Interesting game. If you're a Niner fan, you're probably watching because it was an NFC West game. Seattle and Arizona. Of course, Arizona lost here. And in fact, both those teams lost to the Niners. But a 52-yard field goal at the horn wins it for Seattle. Final score 23-20. So Seattle defeats the Arizona Cardinals. Seattle now 3-1. That one loss to the Niners. Cardinals 2-2. And 0-2 in the division, which is a big deal. Start thinking about tiebreakers and stuff. Those division games and those conference games are super important. But anyway, so Seattle gets a win over Arizona. So 49ers are sitting in a good spot. So these are the 4 games that I want to just go through. And feel free to give me your thoughts on the games, and we'll finish with the Niner games. But these were the games that jumped out. Good games, different things going on, but games I want to watch on Sunday. Keep a close eye on Sunday. Ravens at the Chiefs. How do you explain both these teams 1 and 2? I think that's probably the thing that jumps out, because you're talking about 2 of the best teams in the AFC, but they're both off to a little bit of a slow start. And Baltimore's been hard to figure out. They lost at Buffalo 41-40. They win at Cleveland 41-17, and then they lose to Detroit 38-30. So points everywhere. But I looked it up, guys. Baltimore has scored 111 points. That's the most in the NFL. They've given up 96 points. That's the second most. So they've scored the most. They've given up the second most, Baltimore. And, they're always set. I mean, it feels like they're always known for having a good defense and a good quarterback, right? But boy, that defense is just giving it up, which is just surprising. And Lamar Jackson's great. He's already thrown 9 touchdown passes, but he's been sacked 12 times already. That's not the guy you want to get sacked. But he's a terrific quarterback. But they're scoring plenty, so that's not the case. The big guy, Derrick Henry, a couple costly fumbles in the last couple of weeks, but still terrific running back. So they're going into Kansas City, and both these teams are probably a little pissed off because people are talking about them like, how are they 1 and 2? But that's sort of the Ravens deal. They're scoring a bunch and they're giving up a bunch. I mean, big time, right? And then you got the Chiefs. They lose to the Chargers in week 1. They lose to Philadelphia in week 2, and then they beat the Giants last week. But both of those losses to open the season were at home, which is a little bit interesting. Although I think the first game was overseas, but maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But either way, they were both considered home games. Kind of middle of the pack offensively. The problem there, I think, a little bit. Their leading rusher the first 2 games, the Chiefs, was Patrick Mahomes. You don't want that. I know Mahomes runs around; he's terrific. But I don't think you want him to be your leading rusher. And that was the case in those first 2 games. And they lost both the games to the Chiefs. So anyways, it is still the Chiefs. They've been to the Super Bowl 5 of the last 6 years. They've won 3. And that's not an easy place to play. So that's going to be a fun game to watch. Baltimore at Kansas City. And Baltimore is actually the favorite, -2.5. So how does this happen? The Kansas City Chiefs getting points at home for you betting folks out there. So whatever you want to do there. But the Chiefs getting points at home, very interesting. Good game. Baltimore at Kansas City. And whoever loses that game is going to be 1-3. I mean, there's still time, but 1-3 is 1-3. There's only 17 games. Second game I'm going to watch is the Eagles at Tampa Bay, 2 3-0 teams. There's 6 3-0 teams out there. We know the Niners are 1, the Bills are 1, the Colts, the Chargers, and then these 2 teams, Eagles at the Buccaneers. Should be fun. We all know about the Eagles. They beat the Cowboys. They beat the Chiefs in Kansas City, and then they had a crazy game. They beat the Rams last week, come from behind, block a field goal, but do what the Eagles do. Not doing a lot offensively, not doing a lot throwing the ball early in the season. Barkley's been okay. But, this team, the Eagles, they just know how to make plays and they know how to finish games. We've seen it now, right? We've seen it. They've been to the Super Bowl 2 of the last 3 years. They won it last year. I've seen them a lot. You guys have seen them. They just know how to finish. They're that team that when they need a stop late in the game, they get it. No matter what they've done the whole game, when they need a stop, they do it. When they need a first down, they do it. They get it late in the game. They have the ability to rise up and play well at the end, and they know how to finish. And some teams don't know how to finish. Some teams are learning how to finish. The Eagles are there. And that's what makes them so tough. Because even when they don't play well, if they're close late, they know what they need to do. And to me, that's what they're very talented, but they know how to get it done. And to me, that's kind of that final piece of the puzzle when you have a talented team. And they have it. And they got a Lombardi trophy for it last year. For Tampa Bay, you want to talk about 3 of the craziest games you'll ever see, and they've had them, and they've won them all in the first 3 weeks of the season. They beat Atlanta. They scored a touchdown with under a minute left to go. They win 23-20. They beat the Texans 20-19. They scored a touchdown with 6 seconds left. They beat the Jets 29-27, a field goal as time runs out. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 3-0. That's how they've won their 3 games. It's pretty interesting. I mean, they're banged up offensively, but I don't know that everybody is a big fan of Baker Mayfield, but I like the guy's swagger. I got to be honest with you. I'd rather have my quarterback have some swagger. He's got a lot of it. Some people think it's too much, but you know what? I'd rather have too much than not enough. And he plays his ass off every week. So he's got that swagger, and he's got his team 3-0. This is one of the listen. You got the Eagles coming to Tampa, right? So if you're the Buccaneers, people are saying, well, a couple of those games you got lucky, but you're 3-0. Here's a chance for you to go, we're for real. If they can beat the Eagles, people will start looking at the Bucs differently. And the Bucs have had success the last couple years. But you beat the Eagles, people will look at you different. People will start really taking you serious. And you as a team, even though I'm sure you're plenty confident, you will feel like, yeah, okay, we're pretty darn good. So that's why I think it's a big game for the Eagles. I think it's a huge game for the Buccaneers. Just for the overall outlook of how people are looking at them, and they are a little banged up. But again, they're playing good football. They're doing what they need to do. Are they getting lucky? I don't know, maybe. But again, you win at the end, man. You win at the end. A couple plays at the end of an NFL game wins a lot of games, and we see it every week. And it's going to be hot down there. And when you go to Tampa at this time of year, it is hot and it is humid. I mean, it's gross humid. So we'll see if that has effect on the Eagles. I don't know, probably not, but you never know because it's 90 degrees down there this time of year, and humidity is brutal. And that can affect a team going down there. Absolutely, it can. There's no question about it. It happens when you go to Miami too, and you play, this time of year. Tough. It's tough, but I don't know that that'll be the case for the Eagles. Who knows? Maybe. So, anyways, and you know what? The Niners play the Buccaneers. Middle of October, a couple weeks, right? So that'll be fun. It's here. It's a home game for the Niners, but Niners Buccaneers. So that'll be great. But this is a good one to watch. Eagles at the Bucs. Eagles are 3.5-point favorites on the road. So again, Buccaneers 3-0, getting 3.5 points at home. So there you go. That's a good game to watch. I'm going to keep that one in mind too. So Sunday night, this should be fun. The Packers at the Cowboys. It's always kind of fun when these two teams get together. Packers have had their number in the postseason for a while now. And, the Cowboys, they're supposed to be good every year. It's kind of the same drill. This year, Packers 2-1, Cowboys 1-2. Cowboys lost at Philly, beat the Giants, and then got beat up by the Bears, which was a little concerning last week. But offensively, Prescott's played well. He can sling it, man. Dak Prescott, when he gets going, he can really sling it. He's a good quarterback. He'll make a mistake once in a while, sometimes at a bad time, but he can rip it pretty good. They got a couple of running backs who've been around a little bit, doing a pretty good job. CeeDee Lamb's out. That's huge. CeeDee Lamb is terrific. He's one of the best, probably 5 or 6 receivers in the game, but he's out. He's going to be out for a couple weeks, so that's a huge loss. But offensively, the Cowboys are fine. They will score points. But defensively, they have just been bad. I mean, bad the first 3 weeks. They have not stopped anybody's passing game. They're giving up the most passing yards per game in the NFL through the first 3 weeks. And it's only 3 weeks, but the numbers are what they are. Russell Wilson threw for 450 yards against the Cowboys. Caleb Williams threw for 298 and 4 touchdowns. So that's a big issue. That's a big issue for the Cowboys going into this game is defense. Can they stop anybody, which they haven't really been able to do this year. For the Packers, beat the Lions first week, beat Washington. So 2 huge road wins, or I'm sorry, two huge home wins within the conference. One of them, the Lions in the division. That's a big deal. But then they go to Cleveland last week, and I don't know. It's as bad of a loss as I've seen a real good team have in like 5 years. They had the game won. They were up 10-0. They lost 13-10. Couple crucial mistakes. And it set them straight a little bit. They were feeling pretty good after the first 2. But bad loss at Cleveland last week. Offensively, they got shut down by the Browns. Browns are really good defensively, but the Packers could not do much of anything offensively. And now they're banged up on the offensive line. That's the thing this weekend against Dallas. Packers they're going to be starting a couple backups on the offensive line. And, that's always a big concern. But defensively, they are really, really good. the Micah Parsons whole drill, he's as good as advertised. I mean, he has lifted up the defense, and you just watch Parsons play, and he makes everybody around him better. I mean, it's just obvious. He takes up so much attention. He gets, and I've watched the Packer games this year, he gets double teamed every play, every single play. And he still gets pressure on the quarterback. But he's fighting through double teams every play. So what happens? Well, the guy on the other side, Rashawn Gary, who's a pretty good rush end, a pretty good defensive end, well, he's got 4.5 sacks in 3 games. That's what happens. That's how he makes everybody better. So the Parsons thing is real. He's really good. And the Packers have only allowed 44 points in the first 3 games. That's the fewest points in the NFL. They got good linebackers. They got good people in the back end. So it's a very, very good defense. Their offense just hasn't caught up with that yet. But I think, too, when it's, there's been a lot of talk about that Parsons trade. Of course, he's going back to Dallas. It's going to be a big deal for him, I'm sure. Cowboy fans get to see him, blah, 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 blah. But, I think it was a good trade for Green Bay. I think it was a trade they had to make. You get a chance to get a guy. Guys like that do not come available in the NFL. They just don't. But for some reason, Jerry Jones did it, made the deal. And, and a lot of people have talked about salary cap ramifications, and that does come with giving Micah Parsons a deal that they gave him, a huge amount of money, over $40 million a year. But one of the reasons the Packers could do that is they have the youngest roster in the NFL. So they are a very, very good team. They got Micah Parsons. They still have the youngest roster in the NFL. And when you have the youngest roster in the NFL, you have a larger number of players on rookie contracts. And that allows you have more money. I mean, those rookie contracts are not as big as that second contract that guys get. Now down the road, there will be ramifications, but the longer down the road it goes, the less the ramifications are. But it helps when you have a young roster and not as many guys on those second contracts or those free agent contracts, if that makes any sense. So I think that was one of the many reasons why the Giants did the deal, or the Packers did the deal, and one of the reasons why they could do that deal. So anyways, Packers are favorites -6.5. So that's interesting. So another home team getting points. So the Cowboys are getting 6.5 at home against the Pack. And then the final game is the Niners game. We saved the best for last, right? Jacksonville at the Niners. Jaguars are 2-1. Of course, the Niners are 3-0. Jacksonville beat Carolina, and then they lost to Cincinnati. That was the game Joe Burrow got hurt. And Browning came in and drove them down the length of the field right at the end and scored, with like 20 seconds left. And, so that's a game that the Jaguars felt got away from them. And then they beat the Texans last week. So the Jaguars, I think, are feeling like they could very easily and should be 3-0, but they're not. They're 2-1. The pretty good offense. Trevor Lawrence, 4 interceptions already. He's kind of hot and cold. You see him some games where you're like, wow, this guy's really, really good. He was the number 1 pick. And then other games where he gets a little careless and you can kind of get to him. So you're never quite sure which Trevor Lawrence you're going to get. Etienne, the running back, is really good. Travis Etienne, he's averaging 6 yards a carry. He's already got 270 yards on the year. He's a good back. I mean, he's had a couple 1,000-yard seasons in his first 3 years in the league. He catches the ball in the backfield, so that's a guy to watch for the 49ers defense. Defensively for Jacksonville, they revamped their defense a little bit. They got 7 picks and 9 takeaways already this year. Both those are the high marks in the NFL. So they're taking the ball away defensively. And outside of that, the game in Cincinnati where they gave up 31 points, the other 2 games, the defense has been very, very good. And the fun thing to watch for is, of course, Travis Hunter, the second pick in the NFL draft. The two-way player from Colorado. He's super fun to watch, man. Such a tremendously talented kid. And you want to know, well, is he playing? Is he playing both like he did at Colorado? Absolutely he is. The latest numbers for Travis Hunter, he has played 59% of the Jaguars' offensive snaps. He's played 47% of the Jaguars' defensive snaps. He's out there, man. He's playing both ways. He's got 10 catches on the year. So he hasn't done a lot offensively, but listen, I mean, this kid's, he's played 3 games in the NFL. He's playing both ways. How cool is that? I mean, I can't wait to watch this game just to see what he's doing. But playing both ways for the most part, and good for the NFL. And somebody you want to watch, Travis Hunter. So that's the Jaguars. They got a new head coach, Liam Cohen, offensive coordinator in this league for a couple years. But he's a young guy. He's only 39 years old. But we saw him with Tampa Bay and the Rams. So he's taken over. And, I think this Jacksonville team is pretty good. I think the Niners have to be careful. They're young. The defense is growing a little bit. So, I'm looking forward to seeing the Jaguars and how and the Niners with their good defense. I just think the Jaguars are a pretty good team. We don't hear a lot about them. They're in the other conference and, AFC, NFC, but let's be careful with this team. I think they have a chance to be pretty darn good. And for the Niners, of course, one of those 6 teams, 3-0, terrific start. High blood pressure games, man, for the Niners. I mean, it's been crazy. I mean, they've had enough thrills in the first 3 games to last, half a season. But listen, they've done what they needed to do. Their offense, the passing offense has been the best in the NFL in the first 3 weeks. So give Mac Jones credit. He's been great filling in for Purdy. We don't know what's going to happen this week. Purdy's been practicing, but I have different reports. Like, maybe he's a go, or maybe they may wait till next Thursday for Purdy. I don't know, but he is practicing. But if he can't go, you should feel pretty confident in Mac Jones. I mean, he's done a really nice job. He started games in the NFL. He started a fair amount of games in the NFL. So as you could see, he doesn't get rattled. And what he did, last week, driving him down, staying calm. I was impressed with Mac Jones. So it's a wonderful world when you have a really good backup quarterback. And it looks like, the Niners have this. But, injuries are always a concern, But so far, at least, early on, people have stepped up. Pearsall's been great with Ayuk out. But Pearsall's, he's been terrific. He's played like a number 1, 16 receptions already. So that's good. And McCaffrey is amazing to me. He just gets pounded and pounded in a football game when you watch. And running backs take a beating, right? But because he has his hands on the ball so much, I'm always just amazed at this guy because he just and he's tough. He's tough as hell. But he takes a beating, man. But he just gets up. Let's go. And he's got 52 carries already in the first 3 games, and he's caught 25 passes in the first 3 games. So you got to love that guy, man. I hope he stays healthy because we know what happens when he's not healthy, and when he is out there, he's just terrific. He's still terrific. He's been around a while, but I always hold my breath because he does take a beating. So you got to keep him out there. And defensively, what can you say? Robert Saleh's back, and whatever magic he has, he brings it back to the Niners. The defense has been great. They're going to miss Bo. The Bosa thing's going to hurt. What can you do? You feel bad for the guy. But there's injuries everywhere in the NFL. It's a brutal league. It's such a brutal league. You see guys go down every week. Sometimes it's worse than others. The Bosa thing is bad because it's out for the year. But it's a brutal league, and you're going to have to deal with injuries no matter who you are. Unfortunately for Bosa, it's a season ender. But so anyways, it should be a good one. Jacksonville at the Niners. obviously Sunday afternoon. I think it's going to be a good game. I think Jacksonville's maybe even better than people are thinking early on here. The Niners are 3.5-point favorites at home. And what's interesting, too, is you got Jacksonville's this Sunday, and then the Niners on Thursday, a week from tonight, are at the Rams. And that's going to be a huge game because, I think the Niners and the Rams are the two best teams in the NFC West. And I know it's very early and things can change big time, but just seeing Seattle and Arizona, and I think the Rams are really good. We saw it last year, and that's going to be a hell of a game. The 49ers at the Rams on short rest. That's coming up on Thursday. So Sunday, and then a quick week, and you got the Rams on Thursday. So that's it. That's the 4 games I'm going to be watching here on come Sunday for the NFL. I love the NFL. How many times have I told you that? Because I really do. Let's check in with some of the comments before we head out and let everybody go to bed. Are the Bengals in trouble without Joe Burrow again? Their defense has been really bad. Also, they gave up 48 points to Minnesota. Yeah, I would say so. You just can't lose. You can't lose a quarterback like that unless you have a terrific backup. And Browning, I don't know that that's completely the answer. And it's the Bengals have some talent and they have a great quarterback, but it's tough. I mean, it's really tough to be able to just endure that. And he may come back at the end, but you don't know where they're at. So yeah, I would say that, yeah, they are in trouble. They are in trouble. Let's see. Bake That Dough checking in. Where's Bake That? Where you been, Bake That Dough? I haven't seen you in the last couple shows. Is there a bigger quarterback bust than Trevor Lawrence? So Bake That Dough is not a fan of Lawrence. And as I said, he is a little inconsistent, and he was the number 1 pick in the draft, 3-4 years ago. So I wouldn't say he's a bust. I mean, I think it takes guys a while. I think if you look around the league, it can take guys 2-3 years. Maybe he hasn't always had the greatest talent around. I don't know. I'm not making excuses for him. But, I'm going to give him a couple more years. And I would say at some point, he needs to, probably this year, because it is. I think it's year 4. I'm not exactly sure there. But yeah, at some point, he needs to probably take that next step. And I don't think he's taken that next step yet. So, but anyways, we shall see. Bake That Dough says Niner football torture. Yeah, that's fair. It has been torture, but be happy that they've come out on the winning end of all 3 games. So, anyways, good stuff. Good stuff. Looking forward to NFL Sunday. Looking forward to tomorrow night at Oracle Park as we wrap up this 2025 Giants season. But all in all, sports keeps coming, folks. We're going to keep talking about the NFL. And when the postseason starts next week, we're going to shift gears heavy into the MLB postseason with the different series going on. So we'll be covering that big time. So that should be a lot of fun. So, all right, that's it for the show, folks. Our sponsors, as always, the Carrig Real Estate Team. Whether you're moving up, downsizing, or making your first purchase, as always, trust the good folks at the Carrig Real Estate Team. Go to carrigteam.com or call 925-548-4132. They've been taking care of people since 1978. And by Tilden Properties. By investing with Tilden Properties, you're going to see quarterly dividends and continued equity buildup in the real estate market. They specialize in multi-family real estate purchases. Get involved, folks. I'm telling you, it is a wonderful investment, and you can make good money. Bay Area-based, family-owned. They've been building investment wealth for their clients since 2008. Call them at 925-209-8558. And last but certainly not least, our newest sponsor, Valone Insurance. Are you tired of being overcharged or on your property insurance? Probably are. Valone Insurance has multiple options for your home and landlord properties. Save big money on your property insurance. Call Kyle or Ron at Valone Insurance at 925-433-8271. All right, thanks, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the show. I know it was a long show. We tried to cover a bunch of stuff, and we got to cover the NFL. That's what it's all about right now. So if you're at the ballpark this weekend, say hi, and I'll see you later on this week with another edition of the Glen Kuiper Show. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, and make sure you keep on joining us. Hope you enjoyed the show, everybody. We will see you down the road.